my painting titled Halloween, which I completed in 2012. It's 6 foot by 4 foot, 6 foot high by 4 foot wide, oil on canvas. And what I am going to show you in this video is the preparation in terms of gathering source materials, photographs that I had taken, as well as imagery I took off the internet, and then also the techniques used in Photoshop to assemble elements from those photographs to get the grouping on the front stairs, which is the base of this image, and then within Photoshop figuring out what it would look like as a night scene. And once I had that established, I'll move forward knowing there's a good chance that my concept for the painting would work, and I'll share with you the procedure in terms of applying the oil paint itself. So with the photographs, you're going to see photographs that include images of my son Daniel at various Halloweens, as well as his sister Elizabeth. There are many, many photographs that I used, bits and pieces from, and all of these were factors in the planning for this image. I took photographs of the bush behind the stairs, which is going to be part of the image. Photographs, you can see my daughter Elizabeth in various years in costume. And then also we've got here Daniel as a pirate. I made that wooden sword for him. Here he is as Bob the Builder. And let's see what else comes up next. And I needed to know what he would look like as the magician. I had historical figures, George Washington, Mona Lisa, and the Cry by Munch, which I used as faces on the pumpkins to give them some character. And then here we have an image. It's actually a photograph of a mannequin that I lit in my studio in the way that the lighting is going to be throughout the painting. That being that there's strong, direct, cool, bluish light coming from the upper right, simulating moonlight, and then weaker reflected light, reddish in nature, coming from the lower left. And I wanted to see what that looked like on a mannequin as well as what it looked like on Daniel. So I got him to pose for me for the same reason, so I could see what this looked like. It turns out that what I'm doing is I'm applying the information in terms of the way a single direct light source works on objects in reality. And this image is something I use as a teaching device to teach students how light works on planet Earth, which is like what you need to know if you're going to try to shade things realistically. I've also included a couple of figure drawings that I did that are just showing you, literally I've made hundreds upon hundreds of drawings studying the way things look, and I'm applying that to this situation, which, by the way, it never existed in reality. My children were never on the stairs at the same time in different ages, but I was able to collage them together in a sense through Photoshop and then coordinate them so it looked like it could have occurred at one moment in time, based on my understanding of the way light works on planet Earth. Here is the photograph that I drew into Photoshop of my front stairs, which is where I'm going to place the figures. I had to scale them so they were all a plausible size to be in the photograph together, though they've all been photographed at different times of day, different years, different qualities of light. But with that image in daylight, is I, in Photoshop, turned the lights out and explored what this might look like as a night scene. And upon seeing this, I realized I had the makings for the painting that I wanted. So at this point, I stretched a canvas and began drawing. The drawings start out loose and get more and more complicated. Here, the faces getting laid into the pumpkins. At this point, the drawing is so complex and so busy that in order to proceed, it almost looked like a map of the LA freeway. What I needed to do was, with light washes of transparent oil, is map out the basic shapes so I could stop looking at line and start seeing shape. Here I've also plotted the initial darks in the background, and then still everything on the stairs, all the figures are washes, transparent washes of oil, but the darks now that are being planted into the building are permanent parts of the painting. I always start the painting as far as opaque with the strongest darks and then start working into the lights. And so here we're looking at me moving forward with the figures on the stairs, and I'm going to show you next how I laid out the paint to create the lighting on the hand. Here is the transparent washes, and then in the next frame are the opaque layers of paint, basically laying out light side, core of shadow, and areas of reflected light. From that, as I worked into those, the highlights and the reflected red light, as well as feathered the edges in order to get the kind of smooth quality that you see here. And I did basically the same thing with her other hand. Here's the crude version. There it's worked out. And on the sleeve, it was a curiosity because I am doing the same basic thing. It would have been so much easier not to do a stripe sleeve, but I didn't want to take the easy way out. It didn't just double the amount of work, it quadrupled the amount of work because I had to paint the green completely independent from the lighter grayish value. Anyway, I went for it. I did it. It's beautiful. Good job, Jim. Here is just showing you me working out the image of the window. That's my cat October, along with the candle. Those are, fabricated from imagination. Here at this point, the background is pretty well done, and now I'm starting to work on the stairs. And as things are here with the stairs, I haven't put the cast shadows in yet. I am now putting the cast shadows into the stairs, which again, this never existed, but because of years and years of drawing and years of careful observation, I was able to anticipate where the cast shadows would be and what the subtleties of the cast shadows would be as they moved across the kind of clickety-clack pattern of stair versus banister versus, vertical versus horizontal. Now I'm just going to show you a number of images of details within the painting. Here's my son Daniel. That's a wooden sword I made for him for that costume. This represented me as the father overlooking a wand Elizabeth made when she was a little girl. Here's an interesting aspect of the painting in relation to the beads on Elizabeth. I was tired. This painting actually took close to 2 years to complete, and this is towards the very end. And I was tired. I wanted to be done with the painting. And so I was thinking of just not doing the beads because I knew how much work it would be. But because of who Elizabeth was, and part of what this painting about is honoring my children, and she was always like a little fashion star, always creating very interesting outfits, and you never knew what color her hair would be when she came over. So I decided there's no way I'm going to eliminate her necklace. Each bead was painted individually, and each bead follows the academic understanding of light side, dark side, turning edge. So I was glad that I put the time in. A lot of times what happens for artists is they get tired. I'm human. I get tired, and I want to get to the end. And I have to realize that as the little devil on one shoulder says to take a shortcut, the angel says, Jim, however much time you put in now will mean nothing to you a year from now, and give the painting the greatest integrity possible, which is what I did here. Got feathers out, looked at them closely, and went for it, and I'm really satisfied with the way they turned out, and I'm glad I did it that way. Again, I could have avoided the feathers to avoid the risk, but the whole business of making paintings is risk-taking. Here we're just looking at the end product. What I hope I've done is kind of give you an insight into how this piece came to be. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.